All right, brothers, let's get going. We're going to start. I'm going to sing this niggun because Zev asked me about this niggun. We'll sing it. No, it's a good niggun. It's a good niggun to sing. It's one of my, I grew up on this niggun. We sang it Friday night. I want the Chaver to learn it even stronger. I da 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 dum. I da 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 dum. I da 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 dum. I da 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 da. I da 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 dum. I da 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 dum. I da 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 dum. I da 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 dum. I da da dum. I da da dum. I da 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 dum. I am a mum. I am a mum. I ya da da dum. I da da dum. I da da dum. I dum. I am oh yum. I da da dum. I da da dum. I da. Here's where it gets a little tricky. I da dum. I am a mum. I am da 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 did I dam I dam I am oh no yam I am I da 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 my da 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 I da 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 I da da I da mam I da 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 I da da. You realize with these 3-part nigunim, you always do the first part, second part, third part, and then go back to the second part. Chaim David taught me this years ago, because that forms Yud K Vav K. Yud K Vav K. You always, with 3-part nigunim, you always do that. With the real Hamish, with the real Hasidic nigunim, that's how it always goes back and forth. This is the vision. It says Kari Ban Olam. It's a gorgeous nigun. I grew up in it. Actually, before this coming Shalashudis, we're doing a Shalashudis again, the whole kil upstairs. I'm going to send out, I realize it's going to be good. I'm going to record today, hopefully, a few of the nigunim that we do at Shalashudis. Send it out today so you have time to prepare during the week. So that you show up Shalashudis, you have them down strong. All right, let's jump into it. If we're on Daf. Oh, sorry. The sponsors are the Aleph by the Eagles, Leilu Nishmat Tzivi Bracha Bas Elia, anonymously in honor of the coming of Melech HaMashiach, by the Merkant in honor of the son Yaakov Akiva, completing the Nach Yomi, and for protection of Hillel Tzvi Yehuda. The week is sponsored by Michael and Cindy Levy in honor of their children Dani and Lisa Eisenstock's 19th anniversary. And for the safety of our Chayalim and healing of the wounded, Michal and Yuri Reinitz with thanks and appreciation to the Nashim Tzadkanias of our incredible community, and by the Hanekman family for the refuah shlema of Elia Shir ben Hadassah Elisheva Bela. Okay, we're on Daf Mem Zayin. The second part of the superconscious faculty of our soul is Tanug. The first one was Emunah, Tanug, and Ratzon. We're going to be speaking today about pleasure. This is a very beautiful piece. This is going to be, I think it's going to be explaining to a lot of us like what we're feeling. Like it'll just be explaining what we're actually going through quite often, a lot of the time. After Emunah, after believing so strongly and understanding that Emunah in Hashem is the same thing as Emunah in Biat HaMashiach. It's not like I believe in God, but I don't believe in the coming of Mashiach. It's not a Jewish concept. Emunah in the Rebbeinu Shalom means that you're believing that we're on our way to having Tlasaken Olam Malchus Shem Daled Yud, that we're on our way to the fixing, to the revelation of no more hiddenness. And it comes in very weird shapes and forms. Sometimes you see Yad Hashem in a place that you just, whatever, I'm reeling off of Amari Stoudemire. That's the truth. Yehoshaphat. That's mamash tzaddik. My friend, my dear friend Naftali Kaufler, spent Shabbos with him in Arizona this Shabbos. He says it's just not to be believed. The guy is there first, starts learns before davening, davens like all in, and then afterwards kiddush, everything like mamish makpid shmiras Torah mitzvahs. He had his jersey retirement yesterday in by the Suns, where the Suns play, and I'll send it to you. And his number that he's retired is number 32. So he gets up, Amari Stoudemire, in the middle of this whole thing, thousands of people, and all the networks, and he's speaking of. And what's that? He was wearing a weird kind of little mini shtreimel. It's unbelievable. And the number of his jersey is 32. So he gets up and he says, everybody knows that in Lashon HaKodesh, he says this word, Lashon HaKodesh. In the Hebrew language, Lamed is 30, and the letter Vet, he doesn't even say Bet. He's like so, and he knows that Lev is not Lamed and Bet, it's Lamed and Vet. He says, Vet is 2. You bring them together, you get 32. 32 in Hebrew is Lev. Lev is exactly what I gave the people of Phoenix and this place. This is what I put into my playing here. This is put my heart and soul into it. I played with heart and soul.
And they all went crazy.
It's just, you put any Rav in the world to go up and give a drasha on Lev, anywhere in the world. And it's just the time we're living in. What does that do, as opposed to Amari Stoudemire getting up and speaking about his jersey retirement, about the Kedusha of Lashon HaKodesh, of letters. Nuts! So it's just crazy. It's just so crazy. It's so wild. Harbe shluchim lamakom. It's so wild where things are coming from and popping up and appearing. We're on our way, Chavre. We're on our way. Like I said Friday night in Shul, Kiti Sa'at Rosh. You got to just keep the head lifted up, no matter what. We're reading Pashas Shkolim. We're reading the same thing again this Shabbos, the Rishon of it. Lift up keep your head up. There's something we're moving towards. It's clearer than ever. And it's happening faster than ever as well. So here, the second piece of the superconscious that happens regarding the tchunot of our neshama is the concept of tanug. Tanug, pleasure. This is a very deep concept, and for those of you that have been learning Tanya, I'm sure you've seen already the differentiation between Oneg, Ahava b'tanugim, all these different references that the Alter Rebbe makes throughout Tanya, bringing down to us what true emesdika pleasure really, really means. It means the exact opposite of what pleasure in the world really means. So I want you all to focus as much as possible today, because it's not so pashut, and it's short, but we'll try to get it to the point. Rav Ginsburg says like this, Daf Mem Zayin, Le'achar chizuk emunatenu be'Hashem uve'avtachato lig'ol otanu. Bekarov, after we strengthen our faith in God and His promise that He will redeem us soon. That's emunah. That's the first one that we did. Umitoch hayedi'ah shebanu kayam koach lishtatef ito yitbarach betikun hametziut beofen pa'il. And from the knowledge, from the notion that we know inside of us is the strength to be mishtatef with Hashem in the fixing of the reality in an active way. A chassid lives his life knowing that inside of him is the ability to connect to something where he could activate and then get into the inyan, mamash be'ofen pa'il. Are there any more pages left? There's no more pages left. I'm sorry, I'll print more. They don't have pages, it's going to be hard to follow. I just want you to see it inside. Again. לאחר חיזוק אמונתנו בהשם ובהבטחתו לגאול אותנו בקרוב ומתוך הידיעה שבנו קיים הכוח להשתתף איתו יתברך בתיקון המציאות באופן פעיל, זוכים אנו לחוות תענוג עילאי, מעין טעמו של תענוג הגאולה העתידה. Rav Ginsburg says, awareness of the following notion brings an amazing sense of pleasure, which is a taste of the forthcoming of Mashiach coming. What does that mean? The moment that I feel that in me is the element of shlich, when I say shlichus, I mean that I can do something. Like there's something in me that could actually be mashpia b'foal. That within me there's something that can make things happen, and that it's in me, and that I could do it, and that Hashem believes in me. That's why He put me in this world. Rav Ginsburg says You don't have to wait for the fulfillment of it to happen to get a sense of pleasure. What happens to you at that moment that you realize inside of you is all this is taking place, already then you taste something that's called a foretaste of what's going to be like when Mashiach comes. Ta'anug. It's a state of pleasure. It's not yet activated fully. However, I know that it's there. I'm walking around with this thing of like, you walk around with this like smirk, and someone says to you, what are you so happy about? And you say, I can't really explain it to you. No, tell me, what are you so happy about? And you actually try to convey to a person and say to them, well, I've come to the realization that like I could really partner with God in fixing the whole world. But you didn't yet. Yeah, I know, but still, just the fact that that's true brings me such an oneg, such a tanug. And I'll tell you why, on a certain level, sometimes it's even higher than when I actually try to activate something. Quite often, actually. But it's based on a Torah from Parshas Beshalach. Parshas Beshalach is us leaving Mitzrayim. It should be the happiest thing in the world. What's the first word of Parshas Beshalach? What do we know about the word Vayehi? The Shansar. If it's such a happy thing, then why do we use the first word Vayehi when it comes to leaving Mitzrayim? David, just move to the side because you're blocking the... Or, David and Yaniv, can you guys have Rahmanis on my voice and move forward? What? Vayehi, the tzaddikim say, it's brought down by the Bialer Rebbe, it's brought down by a lot of tzaddikim, is that we knew that it was going to happen. We believed in the Besorah of the Geula, but you know what ended up happening? It didn't meet our expectations of how divine it was going to be. It didn't meet our expectation of how it would be. So, Vayehi, because it didn't meet the dreams that we made for ourselves. So Rav Shlomo said about this, like you have a lot of couples when they're dating or when they're in the parsha, wow, my God, they expect it to be that for the rest of their lives, it's like one long Sheva brachas, right? Then comes 3 weeks after the wedding, and there's a dish left on the table, and you or your wife didn't pick it up, and one of you looks at each other and says, this doesn't fit the dictated plan. So, I'm sorry, and then, so it's a life of like Vayehi. It didn't meet your expectations. That's why Tainug, sometimes this state of pleasure, when it just remains refined, it's a taste of what it's going to be like, but it's in a way even higher than what will actually be. I know it's hard to understand this, but I'm going to read the last line again.
But according to your mashal, it's a little.
I want to read the thing one more time. Zochim anu lachvot ta'anug ila'i me'ein ta'amo shel ta'anug ha'geula atida. Regarding the future redemption, it'll be completely different. Because whatever we thought about the future redemption, whatever we think about the future redemption, it'll be higher than anything we could expect and imagine. When it came to Mitzrayim, is that what you're going to touch upon? When it came to Mitzrayim, it was it wasn't the Geula Shlema. The Geula Atida is whatever we come to in our minds, it's going to be much higher, more beautiful, more sweeter than anything we could imagine. We'll be using completely different faculties of das, right? It'll be completely different. Yeah.
Your mashal was that when you have a dream of something, it's sometimes there's a falsity in it.
So say it again. When I have a dream of something,
you said about the mashal of the couple,
right?
That at some point, like when the reality hit, it was less than the dream.
Right.
So in a sense, it's there's a falsity there. There's a stickle.
Can.
So therefore, when you can actually get it done for real, it's much higher because it actually did happen. Than some kind of construct that you made.
Which is what the Geula Atida will be. Nachon.
I'm saying there's a pleasure in really making stuff happen that is bigger and realer than any.
I think we're saying the same exact thing.
I agree.
We're saying the same exact thing. En shum evdel. האמונה נותנת לנו מסירות ודבקות במטרה. But אמונה gives us like this amazing consistency. I'm going to keep on going with this מטרה. לא יעזור. Like, I'm going to keep on going. ביחד עם המסירות, בא הביטחון בהשגת המטרה. With the mesirus nefesh I have for this, comes the certainty that I will reach it, I will achieve it. Why are Lubavitchers so happy all the time? Why are they so happy all the time? They're constant mode of shlichus. In what? They have bitachon, that what they're working towards, there's no one more confident than a shliach in the world. There's no one is more, no, be'emet. No one is more confident than shluchim. Why? There's bitachon that comes with the mesirus nefesh in the matara. That's what Rav Ginsburg's saying. That's something that's just, I don't see that by any, to that extent, I don't see it by anybody else. This level of bitachon in the mesirut nefesh. Interesting. Ve'imo, together with that, tchushat sipuk amuka. There's a deep sense of satisfaction. Ki'ilu kvar hesagnu et hamatara od lifnei sheyatzanu laderech likrat hayad hamiyuchal. You see what he says here? He's saying there's such a deep sense of satisfaction that happens even before we've achieved the full goal of what we're striving towards. Why? Because I have such bitachon that this is going to happen. I have such bitachon, my mesirut nefesh and my bitachon are fully guiding me towards this place of feeling the tainug now, already tasting the pleasure of it now. Now this, frankly, is the first time I've seen a piece that's going to make it easier for me when someone says Mashiach is already here. Because I usually can't stand that. I can't stand that statement. Like, Mashiach's already here? Did you look at any footage from October 7th? That's not Mashiach here. It's not. It's a pagan concept of, it was already revealed, v'chulei. But here, the way he's going to approach it here, and that's why I'm so connected to the Sefer, about the way we mitaken et ha'einayim shlanu, we fix our eyes when it comes to building the Medina, building the Geulah. Here he says it very differently. So look what he says over here. B'sefer Yetzirah, katuv, she'en betova lemala me'oneg. The greatest feeling a person can feel in this world, it says in Sefer Yetzirah, is the feeling of pleasure. Which I always jokingly say is almost the opposite of when you have to do a Shabbaton somewhere, and then they have, after the meal Friday night, Oneg Shabbos. The word you too? Pits. I can't stand it. It's the everything but Oneg. It's the worst. Go on the road. Be a scholar in residence. Deal with high school kids. You'll see it's or balabatim. It doesn't matter. It's this. That's not. You have to. It's mamish a matter of like doing it to understand what I'm saying.
When we had Ari Shalom Zafar for his kid, right? That was like, that's not considered.
No, that's not an Oneg Shabbos. Okay. No. Oneg is just like, that's actually Oneg Shabbos. No, this is like a planned moment when you're a forced moment of singing songs, saying Torahs, when you just finished eating and it's Friday night and you're not 16. Yeah. It's, for me at least, it's just not, whatever. But he says, in the real world of Oneg, in the real world of pleasure, Yismuchu Malchus LaShomei Shabbos v'korei Oneg, en betovar lemala me'oneg, ha'oneg, what is Oneg? Hu ha'chavaya ha'gvoa biyoter shel ha'nefesh. It's the highest experience of the soul. המרוממת אותנו מעל כל המכשולים המדומים והאמיתיים שעלולים לחסום לנו את הדרך. He's saying, I have a bunch of stumbling blocks in my life. Some are imaginary, some are actually real. How do I get over them? He says, the feeling of pleasure of Oneg lifts me up higher above all the stumbling blocks that I may come across in my life. This place of pleasure, it lifts me up way higher and above all of them, which is the opposite of what I was trying to tell you about my experience with doing Oneg Shabbos. It's like the biggest stumbling blocks to have an Oneg Shabbos, right? If you understand. I know I may be insulting someone here because maybe I did an Oneg Shabbos when you were younger in one of your shuls or schools. And maybe people are watching, they're like, what do you mean? You said it was the highest Oneg. I was like, I don't know. The highest Oneg, Shalosh Shudas essentially is, it's essentially, yeah. על ידי חוויית גודלו ופליאתו של מצב התיקון הרצוי, by the experience of the greatness and the wonderment of a matzav that's fixed and wanted, which is what? Matzav shel tov eloki, godly goodness, ve'ahava bata'anugim. Now I want to explain what that means for a second. This is very important. I'm just going to finish the line. I'm going to go back to this. Through this fixed reality of godly goodness, which is also referred to as ahava bata'anugim, love of delight, the love of pleasure, mitromemim anu umegalim mekorot energia chadashim mitochenu. We arise, and it's revealed within us new forms of energy from within. Let me share this with you. Greater than finding renewed strength from hearing a good drasha or a good song, and then feeling like someone gave you life, a much greater state of being is when you discover that reservoir of energy from within. Is that understood? Mm-hmm. That's pretty much understood, right? That's a given, no? You generally, though, what usually gives us all the strength in the world? It's not bad, it's just less good. We go from outside, external plugs of energy. I go him, I have a good shmooze, I have a good sicha, I had a pep talk, I had something like that, I heard a good nigun. A lot of things coming from outside. Did you ever walk out from something that happens within you and feel strong and alive? So this is basically, in a nutshell, a whole world of understanding the point of hisbodedus. Hisbodedus is not just this thing to be yotzei yedei chovah, being abreast of it. Hisbodedus, some shitas in its core explain that what it produces is a whole world of energy that comes from within. And when that is a product of being in conversation with the Ribono Shel Olam, that chevra is called Oneg. That's pleasure. That's ahava batanugim. This is the godly good that you're experiencing in the world. Matzav shel tov eloki. Godly goodness. Not goodness that I have to decide that it's good. Not good because in spite of light, in spite of darkness, this is good. It's not those things. It's something much, much more exalted. Matzav shel tov eloki. Rav Shlomo Katz used to, when he was teaching Tanya, he used to take his time with this and teach this based on Rav Steinsaltz's perush of how to understand these concepts. And really, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll have many more years of learning all these things together. But how do you know that you're in a place of pleasure? Are you receiving life? Are you receiving energy from within? Or do you need America to tell you, we got your back, you're doing good? Wow, look how good the world is. It's mamash the opposite of it. Yeah, Geffen.
I guess I'm just trying to make this shtim a little bit with the Rav Noach Weinberg's 5 levels of pleasure, that whole Torah. That like we're sort of leaving out the past in this whole explanation of Tanya, because sure that memory was great, but once you see how the Yad Hashem was in it and how it fits into the overall meaning system of life, right, that's even more of an exalted pleasure that you're having now about that. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I'm stuck in thinking of
right. Very good what you're saying.
Looking back on
it's very good what you're saying. Which Chassidus does he sound like a little bit? That you'll look back at the past and realize and see the Yad Hashem and everything at the moment of revelation? Huh? Ishbitz. Nachon. Not Lubavitch. Lubavitch it's an amazing thing. They're not fixated on the past. Like they're rooted in the past. They're deeply, everything is Masorah, everything's tradition, but they're mamish, there's a forward thinking. It's like Yalla, Kadima, El HaMelech. It's true. So it's a different way of understanding the pleasure, but we've also seen, and like Rav Noach brings it down, Zatzal, and also in the Mea Shiloach, that's very much the way that we understand this state of Wa, has a lot to do with then seeing, looking back at the past and seeing everything. In Lubavitch, that also happens, it's just not the focus. It's just not the focus. Listen, you'd be stuck in the gulag for years. If you're waiting to see how that added up, they come from a different breed of torture and suffering, where they had to move forward. And that was what the message they were hearing the whole time, moving forward. Jeremy.
Yeah, so the first
paragraph here saying, okay, we have emunah, we are mishtatef b'maaseh bereshit with HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'ikrat tikkun olam, and from doing that, we already sort of feel the tikkun and we get pleasure from that itself. Then you said, but it's hitbodedut, that's really what brings the energia. And I just wonder, like, maybe that's also.
It's also.
It seems like if we just keep on that path of keep on trying to fix the world, bring Mashiach, connect to that, live in that, then that should be some sort of generating the energiot mitoch atzmo. And we put it as like another way, but I'm saying within this, it seems like that is the derech. He's saying if you just keep that mindset, you keep on working toward the tikkun, memele you're going to get mechudash from that.
Ratzon, which is the third aspect here, is going to touch upon what you said right now. But I just want to clarify something. What's that?
It's going to connect the two.
It'll connect, 100% it'll connect too, but I want to have him do that for us, not me try to.
For me, I wrote here, he's going to do, that's a good note.
No, but I want to make something clear. I was just tying in something from the outside. It's not necessarily.
So in his writing, then what is the thing that's actually creating that intergeneration of
the next thing, Ratzon. Yeah. Very good. You're a very observant Jew because you're noticing that there's a mahalach here.
It's also the super consciousness we're talking about still.
Yeah, it's good what Dov said. It's good to keep in mind these are what's super conscious as opposed to conscious.
Out of our control a little bit. It's like out of our will.
It's not. It's either makif or pnimi, but it's not the things that I have as much interaction with as the things that are like the fall. Okay, now what do I do? So it's like just telling us this is what's happening around us. Yeah, rebelling.
Isn't like what Moshe Wilson brings down? He might not Chabad mamish, but he definitely learns from Chabad. The idea that all the Chochmah being a das, this place of Tanuk is something la'asid, something Mashiachic. The Chabad were connecting into Torah's and Mashiach, the tikkun of the cycle, which is something most of the Chassidus didn't go towards. And the fact that he brought it out in a time which was so much Yisurim and the opposite of Tanuk, that explains somewhat the Simcha and because they're in a futuristic state of Mashiach.
Correct.
And not the Toka Golos. They're by the aura of Shemashiach.
Which is why there was one of the main reasons of a large extent of opposition is exactly about this.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, well, look at the world.
They got nervous with Shatz and the whole thing.
They got very nervous with Shabbat, Nachon. And they got nervous with other religions that basically said, like, no, look, it's here already. And they're operating from a different place because they believed in Lubavitch. They believed that if we don't attach ourselves already to what's going to be, the darkness of the Gullus is too strong right now to make it. It's too strong. But that was and that's where we have this, this contention over here.
Do you think that it's been matzliach overall? Like it's been.
The what thing was there?
This oral Mashiach or Chabad is overcome this nagdas?
I think that the Chayalim just proved us all. I think that the soldiers, the aura, the light of the soldiers, whether it was conscious or subconscious, is everything that we need to do to connect all the dots of the Torah that we know and sing the reality of what we know in front of us. And now it's on us. Mamash. I'm not just saying that because your son's in the Tzanchanim. I mean, like mamash, I mean it. And I think it happened to them subconsciously as well. I don't think it was conscious. I think it was also like this makif energy, like we don't know what got this like barur that we're going into connecting ourselves to the future light. Is it dafka or the Chabad? You see, this is where it gets tricky. I don't think it matters. I think you agree with that. I don't think it's Orosh HaMashiach. It's for everyone. It's for the whole world.
Chabad were ahead of the time.
100%.
I was going to say when you brought up Ishbitz that we're lucky that we have all of these worlds. It's not like we're.
Well, some would say. Sometimes I'm not sure how lucky we are. Sometimes I feel like we confuse the daylights out of each other because, listen, it's the greatest pain in the world to not have a derech. It's also the greatest joy to feel like everyone's derech is part of yours. You know how much more simple it would be if we just had one shita and this is what we follow and this is what it is?
I don't know.
I know. It would be it would be much more simple. But ma lasot nitfaknu ta'amnu ma'yayin hungari. We all tasted the Hungarian wine. We all tasted something that makes us. I had this moment. I'll just share with you because I thought about it. I was in Kfar Chabad on a Wednesday night. A good friend of ours married off his daughter in Kfar Chabad. Rabbi Asi Spiegel. He came for the Yutes Kislev for bringing a year and a half ago. Rabbi Asi, my dear friend from Tzfat.
Dvir's brother.
Huh?
Dvir's brother?
Dvir's brother. Yeah, I was with Dvir. First time I saw him in a few years. It's amazing. And I drove up and I realized, wow, the first time I drove here was that there was one morning I thought, it got me so much, the Ruach of Alter Rebbe, the Ruach of this whole new world that had a Seder, which was so enticing to me. It had a Seder. It had a Seder of Limud. It had a Seder of living. It just, everything made sense. I was talking about this with Rav Shalom Brat, and I said to him, after Shir in the morning, I'm driving down to the Kfar today. I don't know what's going to be, but if it is for me, I'm never going to leave. Not the Kfar, but the world. And I remember what nigun I was listening to, driving through the Kfar, and Hashem Yisbarach in His Rachamim sent me to sit with one Rav, who made it clear to me that there's no way in the world that this is only, that this is the way that I thought is for me. Because he basically, to point out how this is the derech, he made an inyan to show how the other things are just cute and sweet, but really it's only Lubavitch. So for me, it was like a simon. It's like saying, "En ma lasot," you're going to suffer the rest of your life, but your thing is not to have one way. And then, I think I shared this with you, I wrote a long letter of pain, a handwritten letter to Rav Weinberger over this. I say, it kills me. Like, I wish there was one derech. Like, Jeremy, this all came up because you pointed out that I mentioned his brothers in a context that seems to be not pointing to that. I know, it's my fault. I'm not, Bemet. By the way, but Rav Ginsburg is kind of like this too, even though he's the greatest Chabadnik in the world. That's why Chabadniks, some of them can't take him, because he quotes the Ishbitzer, he quotes Rebbe, he teaches Me'ashilach, he teaches Rebbe Nachman. But the Rebbe is the Nasi, in Shum Sheila. To get back to it, I wrote Rav Weinberger like a 12, 13-page handwritten letter crying over the fact that I wish I had a derech. I wish I had a derech. Sent it to him, New York. Didn't know if he ever got it, but I knew I would be in New York like a few weeks later. We're sitting in the office, and I said to him, Rebbe, did Rebbe get my letter? So he opens up his drawer. It's almost like a Rebbe Shammai. So he opens up his drawer. He pulls out a letter. He says, "Who wrote this letter?" I said, "I did." It's like I felt like I was being tested by a teacher. Like, who answered the test? Like, who gave? Did you? Huh?
Who did your homework?
Who did your homework for you? I'm like, I said, "I did?" Question mark. He's like, "No, I don't think so." He said, "This is my letter." He said, "This is my letter." Gewalt. This is a long time ago. This is close to 20 years ago. This was mamash. So it's like those moments, they stick with you forever. And when we learn Torahs like this, it's like, I just want to make it clear, even if we learn a strict Tanya Shir, because of all the other stuff that we have going here, it's always gonna infiltrate. But it's good what Jeremy noticed. Like, let's go back and try. That's not what you're saying, because I actually think it's good what we said. But to get the mahalach of how the Rav is bringing it down, it's always good to kind of just go back and see, because this is a shita. Basically, it's a shita. Okay, so now let's go back to the bottom paragraph. When is Oneg necessary? Like, when do we need to have these moments of Oneg? Because that's what Rav Eli was kind of bringing up. In Lubavitch, they felt it was necessary to bring about this world of Oneg seemingly before its time, which is what Rav Ginsburg is saying over here. It didn't happen yet. And yet I'm tasting the world of Oneg. Didn't happen. חוויית העונג היא הכרחית כשאנו באים לחזות מציאות מתוקנת ושואפים אליה, when we are aspiring when we're aspiring to live and to create and to visualize a fixed reality, we need moments of this experience of Oneg. Ha'emunah osa sha'bilti efshari yeh efshari. Obviously, emunah brings the world of impossible becoming possible. That's what emunah is. Ata. לאחר הכניסה אל התחום השני של העל-מודע, העונג, now that we've entered the second stage of this superconsciousness, the oneg, מתחילים אנו לטעום את המתיקות הגלומה בתוך אפשרות זו. Now we begin to taste the most hidden sweetness that's within the אפשרות, within the possibility that we're aiming towards. האפשרי מתחיל לגרות את החושים הפנימיים ולהתגלם ולהיווצר בנשמותינו. Rav Ginsburg says there's a process that begins to happen inside of us. It's a little bit hard Hebrew, but those of you, the Israelis here, know what he says over here. What does girui mean? Legarot?
Stimulate.
Huh?
To stimulate.
There's a stimulation that begins to happen within our inner senses, and there's a stimulation that in our inner senses that brings about all this to start to happen to be felt in our neshamas. There's this inner, you can't really put your finger on it, but anyone that's tasted some level of this world of Oneg, you know it's touching on a button. You don't really know what it is, but what he's saying over here, it's touching on a button that's going right to your chushim hapnimiyim that you're starting to feel in your neshama. Yeah, Geffen.
Maybe this is a question more on the whole shita of like putting yourself in the of Mashiach before Mashiach is here. That like at a certain point, if this sort of cheat code into Oneg wasn't available, then Hashem.
Wait, you called it a cheat code?
No, but like, the like sort of bypassing
a
the
bypass
of now and actively putting yourself in a state of Oneg.
Right.
That if you, in a certain way, you were meant to have Oneg, wouldn't we already just have Mashiach? Like,
it's a bigger question what you're asking. I'm going to answer it in a nutshell. What you rightfully so called a cheat code or a bypass in Lubavitch is not a cheat code or a bypass. It's a lechatchila. That is the derech. That is the way. Meaning, in the Golistic terms, it's like, no, you suffer, bing! You earned it. Here he's saying, here it's different. This, like, suffer, 2,000 years, suffering, Gulag, Inquisition, Nazis, Hamas, everything. And it's like, I'm not waiting for any more blows or hits to stand up tall. Ma pitom. I have a derech already right now. And he's saying, that's lechatchila. That's not like bedi'evid. It's not a cheat code. It's not a bypass. It's the derech towards the light al pi the shita. Yeah, but it's a much bigger question. Yes, the Rav Chaim Shlomo.
All of this is really mamash beautiful cognitive psychology. That's exactly what cognitive psychology discovered.
Mm-hmm.
That since there is no given reality, we are always busy creating reality, and we are free to create any reality we want, and that's what we do, whether we're aware of it or not.
Right.
So consequently, it's not a big shaila that we can and want to imagine something that we would like to happen.
Right.
It's not important that it's here already. It is the German saying, Vorfreude ist die größte Freude. It is the looking forward to something is the biggest joy. Right? It's the bigger joy than when it's here.
That's kind of...
So we look, all week we look forward to Shabbos. Yeah,
right.
When Shabbos is here, it's wonderful, but boy, it was great during the week. We were looking forward to it.
Nachon.
So the process, so what we are hearing here from Rav Ginsburg, it's not just his shita, or it is pashut, cognitive psychology. This is how it
That's
works.
amazing. That's amazing.
So if we are aware of it, we can do this anytime.
Right.
We can imagine anytime. And then, which you know something about, if the source is one's vision, then it's always going to be something exciting. So it's not just a great idea, and, oh yeah, we believe in Mashiach, yeah, okay. But if that belief comes from one's vision, from the kishkis of one's life.
Right. So this is bringing us to the root question of this shir, which even started before this sefer. What's the vision of us coming back to Eretz Yisrael? That's why this sefer and these learnings are striking so many chords. What is the vision? There was a vision. Could it be that vision is now outdated and there needs to be a clearer vision of what it is? Is it lo pashut? It's not simple stuff to have a vision or to clarify what the vision is. It's not the most simple thing in the world. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
But the vision is definitely the same. It's just what do we derive from
it.
Nachon.
So let's call it out right now. What is the vision that all of us have and why we moved here and why we live here? What's the vision? Based on Mikdash Mashiach. Yes? Yes?
We're real Mashiach Jews.
I'm asking, is we think it's Mashiach?
That's just a catchword.
Exactly. That's the point. It's easy to say it, meaning it's true to say that. It is true. But Rav Ginsburg is trying to be mashlim here, is everything that needs to stand in front, behind, and within that word and that terminology.
Yeah, that's why it's not the vision.
Nachon.
No,
it's easy to get caught up in that word. Nachon.
Yeah. The vision
Nachon.
is the state
Nachon.
that we imagine when Mashiach is.
That's why it's called the fixing of the state. This.
I think it's like the taste of the man. It's like everybody has their own vision of what it would be.
There are a lot of hands up. I want to finish the paragraph. Kechol shemitkarvim, we're in the 5th line. Kechol shemitkarvim el hayad, the closer I get to the destination. Pashut yoter lit'om et ha'tanug hamitkarev. It's easier to taste the pleasure that we're approaching, that's coming close. That, and I love what he says here. V'adavar af na'asa mitzvah. And it even becomes a mitzvah to taste this, to be in this place. Like what? Mitzvah te'imat ma'achalei Shabbat be'erev Shabbat. Your wives don't believe in this mitzvah, but you know there's a whole Indian that you should taste the food of To'ameh Chaim Zachu, right? You're supposed to taste it before Shabbos, right? Now, that's the way we understand it, but what is Chassidus doing with this? Mitzvah teimat ma'achalei Shabbat be'erev Shabbat hachala bedoreinu beyachas leteimat ha'geula krova. This is so deep. Nachon. We said this in one of the women's shirim. There's an inyan called Tosefet Shabbos. Nachon? Mm-hmm. What does Tosefet Shabbos mean? On a halachic standpoint, what do we say? Like, what do we? Shabbos comes in earlier, or he likens it over here to eating before Shabbos comes in, eating the food of Shabbos. Now we're taking it to a whole new world, because this is now a meduyak hora'ah from the Rebbe. Okay? כאשר אנו עומדים כבר בערב שבת לאחר חצות היום החל משנת תש"ן. What happened in 1990? What happened in April of 1990? I don't know if we did this in this year before. What happened in the world in April of 1990? Well, I'm just thinking about Crown Heights right now for a second, but just about the headquarters. No. What did the Rebbe say? The whole notion of moving into a time called Shabbat after Chatzot, Friday after Chatzot, that we're already in a state of Erev Shabbos, the Rebbe basically said that's the world we've moved into on a timeline. We all know Mashiach is the 7th, right? It's Shabbos. The shaila is, when's Erev Shabbos? Because in Erev Shabbos already, you don't say Tachanun. There's all these other things that you're already tasting Ki'ilu it's Shabbos. To'ameh Chaim Zachu, you do Tosefet Shabbos. You bring in Shabbos early. So the Rebbe was basically giving a heter to bring Shabbos in early. But Lemaisa, what does that mean? That he gave a heter to bring Shabbos in early? Elliot, it relates to what you brought up. The Rebbe was saying, before now, since on a timeline, we've already moved into this era called Tosefet Shabbos, then now it's this thing of the superconscious, the tainug of tasting what's going to be. Because I'm getting closer and closer to it. Already feeling it now. To'amei chaim zachu, tasting it before it happens. So he explains here. Kasher anu omdim kvar be'erev Shabbat le'achar chatzot hayom hechel mishnat tafshin nun tehei shnat nisim shnat atchalta de geula kfi shelimed Rebbe shehi chatzot hayom hashishi b'sheshet alfei shnot briat haolam. Where do we have this? Where do we have this? You know, no one spoke about Mashiach the way that we speak about today ever until the Rebbe came on the scene, the way that he came on the scene. No one spoke about it. Like I was listening to an interview, like the first few weeks of the war, I was listening to an interview on the radio by a shliach. It was Yutes Kislev, slicha, right before Yutes Kislev, everyone was like, what's going to be Yutes Kislev this year? So the shliach said, you know, during World War II, when someone was sitting in the gas chambers and he's saying, Ani Mami Mumuna Shlema V'yasa Mashiach, so what did that mean for him, that Mashiach would come? It meant for him that he would be released, he'd be freed from the gas chamber. Today, when we say Ani Mami Mumuna Shlema V'yasa Mashiach, what are we really feeling? What's our expectation? Mashiach, like the actual thing. Huh? The actual revelation with all, like we say in Hebrew, mikol hamistamea mikach. There's been a change in the whole world. The Rebbe led that change. He led that charge for us to start allowing. Well, we have to learn what that means, but allowing ourselves to live in a state of Friday afternoon for real. That it really is Tosefet. There really is an inyan here now of Tosefet Shabbos, and the closer you get to that ya'ad, the more that you could taste it. The more that oneg is available to you, it's there for you. So therefore, we'll go back to the beginning. How come the Baviches have this inyan of such self-confidence and such commitment and consistency to the thing? So one, I believe fully, they have a bracha from the Rebbe, en ma lasot. They're blessed from the Rebbe, that koach, that energy to go and get the job done, right? In the Tzibur Dati Lomi, we had a lot of greats. We have a lot of great anashim gdolim. That Rebbe aspect was not ever part of it. There's the top ones, but they're not on a Rebbe of like going out with like the Rebbe vision and that energy, like a convicted chassid goes out into the world.
We had chief
but
rabbis,
what did they?
Not Rebbe's,
Huh?
We had maybe chief rabbis, but not so much Rebbe's.
We no, not just chief rabbis. We had anashim gedolim, and I don't want to start mentioning names because it may sound like it's lessening from them. Chas v'chalila, some of the greats ever. But this inyan of a chassid that he walks on the world with as his like extension of his Rebbe's arm, it's just different. That's one. But two is that the Rebbe in 1990, when things started shifting, and the Rebbe started saying later on, listen, he said, Befeirush, I did whatever I could do to bring Mashiach. Now it's on you. So that goes to the beginning of what we said over here, that when a person realizes that I feel that it's within me, that I could do something in me to activate something in me that can mashlim the ta'alich of the geula. When you walk around like that, you have everything in the world. When you really feel and believe that within you is the opportunity of something like this. Now, we didn't even get to what you brought up. On Wednesday, we're now going to get to how Ratzon is the third faculty of the Superconscious mashlims this whole picture. But I think like it's important for us to notice that, you know, we're in the pit. Listen, 3 chayalim, you know, it's crazy. Someone tapped on my shoulder a second before we started saying Hodu on Mincha Erev Shabbos. And he said, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. 3 chayalim were killed and dozens were injured. And like, you know, we only found out about this on was it late Motzei Shabbos. Another chayal was killed yesterday. The energy, the direction of where the world and where our Nebuch, certain of our Nebuch leaders are driving us is a kilu. Why are you guys happy? You know, why is anyone here have any optimism? Look where the world is going. We're poaling in the mitziyut of Friday afternoon, whether we realize it or not. We're already going to that place where we know it's Erev Shabbos. And we're Adas Tzadikim. We're operating, we're coming from a place that's completely different. So this will explain to us how we conduct ourselves. And Bezrat Hashem, on Wednesday, we'll mashlim the third faculty of the Superconscious of Ratzon. Okay, shkoyach everybody.
You know,
at this point somebody says I'm going to be happy or something like that, then because if it were different,